Resolution not supported.
I wonder about that.
That's interesting. Now let's get going. See if you can catch up.
The guy doesn't catch us.
Okay.
All right. Good morning. Welcome to the Muscatine County Board of Supervisors meeting for March 18th, 2019. Call the meeting to order. The first item of business is to review the agenda.
Move to approve is presented. Second.
Jeff has moved. Santos has seconded. All those in favor? Aye. Motion, or the agenda is approved. Next up is to receive comments from the public. Any members of the public wishing to address the board on a subject?
I just have one question.
Sure.
That you have number 7 on your item, I think it's flag, talk about it. Can we discuss a little stuff at that time with you, or bring some stuff up if we have questions, or do I have to do it now?
Nope, that's on our agenda, so we'll do it that.
That was my only question.
Thanks, sir. Okay, anyone else? Seeing none. Number 4, discussion and possible action authorizing the Historic Preservation Commission to submit a grant application to the Community Foundation of Greater Muscatine for $2,500 to partially fund the development of an updated design for the Muscatine County Historic Jail Museum and Archives Plan with Historic Preservation Commissioner Lynn Pruitt. Morning, Lynn.
Morning. I think you have in your packet the application that it's in draft form right now, but it is to go in this week to the Community Foundation of Greater Muscatine, and that'll help us get kick-started on the next phase of the jail. Mary Beveridge is with us here today, also with our commission, and she may want to say a few words, but just wanted to see if you had any questions on that application.
So then you're looking at basically a rework of the original plans to carry forward now that the maintenance is kind of out of the picture.
Right. Yes, it's previous design had been based on just having the front part of the building available to us. We'd encroached a little bit into the other with restrooms, and to accommodate that, we were going to put an addition on the back side. That was the plan. So now we don't need to do that. So that should save some cost. The original cost was like $900,000, and I'm thinking the application, that may be the number there, but I'm thinking we can get that down to maybe $750 now without having to put that addition on.
Anyone else?
I move the approval.
Jeff has moved to approve. Santos has seconded. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Mary, do you have anything to say?
Not really. We have new brochures out, and there are copies here in the library, and we're very happy to send you one. And we're in the fundraising stage, so we'll always welcome any donations or any suggestions for raising money. Michael Nolan is going to be doing the work. I guess everybody knows that.
Thank you.
Item number 5 is discussion and possible action on a request from We Lead for an emergency loan from the Muscatine County Revolving Loan Fund in the amount of $75,000 to be paid back over 5 years. With We Lead Executive Director N.J. Gardner. Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning. How are you? This past week I sent a letter to you that kind of details what we're going through down in West Liberty. This past winter has not been kind to our historic building, and because the water breached underneath the building, it caused decline all the way up into our front facade, which became an emergency situation. And we had to actually block off the front of our building, taking out several parking spaces available to downtown businesses. In our regional learning center where we do workforce training, those classes and things had to be moved to the high school and other locations because we felt it wasn't safe for classes to continue in that forward part of the building. And so demolition has actually begun on that forward facade, which was ready to fall at any time. Of course, in these situations, it's very expensive, but we did have to move forward. And so we are in the process. I've actually turned in several grants already, but just needing to move forward and requesting a loan to help us facilitate as we rehabilitate.
And Jerry, is the intent to put the facade back in its, as close to its original condition?
That's correct.
So it'll be, they try to maintain the historic character. of it.
That is correct. And plans were actually submitted to historic preservation to make sure that we're doing that to maintain our historic status. Yeah.
Do we have a motion?
Well, I'd make a motion to approve.
Second.
Jeff moves, Santos is seconded. All those in favor? Good luck.
Thank you.
Number 6, items with County Engineer Keith White. Good morning, Keith.
Good morning. As we see, the first is our annual weight embargo resolution.
Yeah, got a question on that. So depending on where this bill with the heavy loads of the state goes, can our embargoes prevent or inhibit the DOT from issuing permits to cross our bridges that won't stand up to the 130,000-pound loads?
They can and they can't.
You lawyer?
No. I will clarify. Our limit is 90 days, so after 90 days, go anywhere they want.
Okay.
That's why. We
Do
don't,
we have to reimpose it then at that point, or is that a possibility?
I don't know if that's been tested. More than likely what's going to happen if this bill passes, which I did have that, I was gonna speak about that in other, is, again, a whole lot of the bridges will have to be reevaluated and they'll end up posted.
Fair enough.
That's what's
So,
going to
so
happen.
each individual bridge will have to basically go out and post a weight limit on it.
Yeah. The problem is, as it stands, the DOT can issue a permit that overrides that. We have no clarity. So far, the DOT people we've talked to have no knowledge of the bill and are not, DOT's not supporting the bill, but the political leaders in Des Moines are pushing the bill. And if we want to go there, I'm going to implore you, we had an email late Friday that the vote will come in the Senate this week, and to please contact the senators and ask them to vote no. We got two here. We have Senator Thomas Green and Senator Mark Lofgren. Please reach out and ask them to touch no. If you need me to resend the contact info or talking points or such, I can sure do that, but it does not look good. Special interests at their finest.
Well, do we have a motion on the embargo?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second. Jeff's moved, Scott has seconded. All those in favor?
We need a, I'm sorry, we need a roll call vote on that.
All right, Jeff?
Aye.
Scott? Aye. Santos? Aye. Doug? And I vote aye.
I will explain that, you know, the way we have enacted that for quite a few years now is the signs go up when and where necessary. They're listed, they're put out on our website. Most of the people that need permits are familiar with that. We've already got requests for permits even though we don't have an embargo in place. In a normal year, and I don't know what this year is, it's anything but normal, it impacts our seal coat roads, which will get damaged when the frost starts coming out, and the public usually could witness that because they start weeping water out, and they literally get soft enough you can stand on them and feel that. That hasn't happened yet. 2 years ago, we, at the end of January, were embargoing roads because we were thawing out. Very unusual year, you know, it's gone cold later, and now we have a sudden warm up coming. I think the worst is yet to come, for sure. And other, I said, I really had, the main item was Senate File 184. And I think it's a big thing. I don't know why our legislators don't understand that putting a number on paper and signing it and passing it as a bill makes the bridge all of a sudden carry more load, 62% more load. It doesn't work that way. Some of them will. Some of them are that over-designed, if you will, but a lot of them will not. Like I said, when they went to the 96,000, we had to re-rate 27 bridges and 5 got posted. So you see them out there posted of what you would normally think was a legal load, 27,8080. That's to keep the 96,000 pound ones that would damage them off of there.
If we have to do this, do you have an idea what it will cost the county to re-rate all these bridges?
We haven't went through and did the scrub of how many, but I'm going to say $10,000, and then the real cost is putting, signs and posts. I mean, it typically costs us a couple $100 to put a sign out there. At least 4, well, typically at least 4 with a bridge like this. You have them at, on each side of the bridge, and then you have them at the intersection ahead, typically. And so you're gonna have some more tens of thousands putting signs out there. So, other than that, not a lot of change in the design or construction situation with the weather. We did reach out again last week to our G28 right-of-way, potential right-of-way buyers, and we have no response yet. So a phone call will go this week.
Let us know if there's anything we can do to try and hasten the procedure.
I think I've already touched on the road conditions. Lots of counties, particularly the southern counties, where it's been a little warmer, a little less snow, they've got, lots of them have everything embargoed, and everything meaning the non-hard pavement surface embargoed out there. Like I said, our conditions frankly are fair out there. Warmth and drying, we could get better. And my crystal ball is we'll get a lot better in a lot of places, but the frost boils will come as we warm up, and so there's going to be isolated places that are not good.
I saw where Cedar County engineer asked for a voluntary embargo on all gravel roads.
Right.
And asked the public to use pickups and cars only, and if it did have to haul load, we would wait till the night that it froze and haul early in the morning.
Yeah, and the freezing nights are just about done. We've asked that before. I think we probably mentioned it in a meeting here this year, maybe not, but it seems to me in a smaller, more rural county that works, and it seems in a larger, more urban county, it doesn't work so well. And frankly, with a lot of confinements that have to move feed in and out, and perhaps still heating fuel in and out, and livestock in and out, there's places we go where the roads are torn up pretty good now with grain moving out. You were all talking earlier about the way certain things used to be. Grain didn't used to move very rarely, year round. So there's a lot of heavier movements that go on the roads out there, a lot of which somewhat can't be avoided, and we cannot really embargo those things off of the roads. So the best thing would be exactly as Doug said, if they would voluntarily, if it is a cool night and a colder morning, to get those movements done in the mornings. But we're against that ourselves with our heavier stuff. our best hope right now is drying.
Anything else?
That's all I have.
All right, thank you,
Thanks.
Pete. Item number 7 is review and direction regarding a written response to the Iowa Department of Public Health request for a list of the county's health concerns with regard to slag that has been placed on the road with planning and zoning administrator Eric Burgess. Good morning, Eric.
Morning. So I think you were all copied in on the email that Stu Smith sent out indicating that they were trying to get together with DNR and get their sampling plan and schedule going. He just wanted to reach out to us and make sure that he was clear on what IDPH was going to be looking at, what our health concerns were, you know, so they could focus on the right areas. I guess I was a little surprised. I figured they'd be somewhat aware of that already, but reached out to Nathan and said, would you like me to get a draft response prepared for you folks, you know, to address that. So that's what you have in front of you there. A lot of that just comes from following the January conference call that we had with IDPH and IDNR, where we kind of summarized what's happened, what's been reviewed, how it's been reviewed, the concerns from the citizens that they've raised, and what IDPH, IDNR proposed for this sampling. Just kind of reiterated the issues that were raised following those talking points. Also looked at the citizen groups, some of the information they've provided and that they're raising some of their concerns, so that we could hopefully get answers and clarification to everybody's concerns. So it's basically what's reflected in this.
Will they, I've read this several times, and I don't see anything in here about any testing for leaching if this product dissolves or leaches in water and so on. Is this the right group to test that?
Well, it could be, I suppose. I don't believe that that's part of their initial plan.
That's a pretty big issue for
Okay.
me. That's a pretty big issue.
Leaching as to then the health effects on humans, or pH, surface waters being changed. What exactly? Because we can certainly add whatever
Maybe we
concerns.
keep it broad and say any kind of, do you have any concern over any kind of water contamination
Okay.
whatsoever?
What's the risk of leachates and their effect on the drinking water?
Right.
Okay.
I'd rather saddle them with more
Okay.
of a burden.
You know, if it dissolves and mixes with water per se, or is it a non-leaching agent? Does it say it stays solid? You know, one of the things that still I think about, and that is in some of our previous meetings, it came up 2 or 3 times that this product in the freeze and thaw cycle will break up and it will split. And I've wondered about that in how many freeze and thaw cycles do you have to have on, let's just say, a 1-inch piece of aggregate before that's reduced to sand? You know, reduced to sand or smaller, to dust.
Really, it's the dust would be the concern, right?
Dust would be the concern, but this whole winter, since we've had these talks, I've watched slag on a particular area that has a lot of slag on it. Not on a road, it's on private property, and I've watched this. And we've gone through, since fall to right now, we've gone through quite a number of freeze-thaw cycles. I visibly cannot see any change in the entire length of the winter of this product splitting and reducing in size due to that. That's why I'm concerned. How long does it take to turn this product into dust? Because I don't see the effects of that on just visibly and just watching it throughout the winter season. So that, I don't know how they test that or anything else. It's just a thought.
Okay. Well, I think, you know, maybe some of that will be gathered in some of the sampling and testing, because we provided them with a list of all the county roads that received slag, and that was back in 2018. So there's been nothing recently applied, and
Right.
everything that's out there's gone through this whole winter's freeze thawing, and will be part of these scientifically approved methods, sampling protocols that they put together. Obviously, it'll be a mixture of everything that's on the road, which will, you know, which is the hope will be to provide a real world risk assessment to, you know, to talk about exposure. But we can reach out, because you're right, almost any substance is subject to some breakdown from freezing and thawing. It's a natural phenomenon.
I'm curious how they'll sample this as well. My assumption would be that they would have a conversation with the county engineer, because that office knows the amount of tonnage put on any given mile. My assumption would be that they would have this information of the amount of tonnage on any given mile and know where this product was applied at. And then they will independently select on their own behalf, would be my assumption, that they would sample in any of that given area. Would that be a safe assumption?
I think that's a very safe assumption, and I think we need to key in on the term independently. I think when they proposed this plan, it was very favorable, because they were going to take the lead on it. They were going to decide based on the concentrations, and, you know, Keith provided them with where slag was applied, but that's the extent of the input that we've given them. We do not want to be involved in any appearance of steering where they sampled and where they didn't.
That was my point exactly.
They're the lead agency.
Let them know where this product is. They can choose wherever they want in all these miles, whatever these miles are, and they can drill this sample wherever without input from anybody.
Yeah, and I want to be clear, that's our understanding of the intended approach. We have, to my understanding at this point, no indication of where they're planning on sampling. We've provided them with the data, and we're letting them come up with the sampling parameters that are scientifically tested, approved. I know they're reaching out, you know, to EPA, to other agencies, to make sure that their protocols are approved for sampling and testing. We don't know that. We'll know afterwards where they sampled. We can compare that to the information we gave them, but at this point, we gave them the raw data, and they are making that determination.
And if I remember the conference call correctly, they said that when they'd selected those sites, they wouldn't just go pick up a couple chunks. They'd designate like 1,000-foot stretch of road, and they'd sample every 100 feet, you know, 10 or 11 times from each side of the road.
Yeah, they'd have to do some type of grid sample in some way.
Right, and we've had no input on that either.
Right.
That's something that they're working on developing, and they probably haven't nearly developed, because I think now that the snow and ice is gone, they want to get started.
Well, they had time.
Right, but, you know, we'll know afterwards, but they did reiterate they've reached out to multiple other agencies to determine the best protocols for those sample techniques. That's all we know.
So Eric, do we know when they're planning on starting? You're just thinking in the thaw area, or so maybe this month, early next month?
Well, you know, depending on the weather, I think that's why they reached out to us when they did, that they were getting close to, you know, but we don't know exactly when, we certainly don't know where.
My guess is this letter is a part of the process, because they're going to determine what we want to know.
Yeah.
And they'll have to go design their lab experiments, and then once they have those designed, then they'll know what they need for sampling.
Right.
But, I'm trying to rely on my memory, which is always a challenge on this, as I read through the document. But we didn't seem to differentiate between dust and, you know, kind of hard product on the road. Are there any, you know, because I think that was one of the concerns was, like, with a pipe there, peak of behavior and the dust. Is there a way to quantify that, Eric, or do we have a way that they can look at the dust, or if
Sure.
we ask them that?
That's one of the things that I did give them for some feedback, is that we felt that it's prudent to also examine the levels of these elements in any type of ingestion or exposure format. Inhalation, pica, inadvertent contact, just getting dust film and directly ingesting it. Any type of exposure, we want a clarification on the risk based on the levels that they find, because those have all been raised as possible paths of ingestion or absorption. So I wanted to make that clear that we want to know about that, not just if you touch it or put it in your mouth, but what are the risks from the concentrations that are found and the health risk assessments.
So, based on our discussion so far, just kind of recapping, we'd like to specifically also ask them about water contamination.
Well, leaching.
And leachate, right,
Yep.
and, methods of ingestion or inhalation, like break it down along those lines, and maybe for which groups, residents, workers, that sort of thing. Maybe throw soil contamination in there too, if they think there's any kind of, not that they're gonna go and test people's fields or whatnot, but if they think based on what they find, there's a concern about soil contamination. Yes, sir?
Yeah, they could test along the edge of the road bank, the
Right.
furthest road bank for
Yeah.
soil testing. And I guess I would like to maybe have it sent to the Ames, is that right? The toxicologist because the DOT doesn't, or, DNR doesn't do much with livestock.
Yeah,
so
that's a livestock too.
That's an area that I did notice that Dr. Askew had reached out to a vet, I believe in Ames, asking questions about livestock exposure and soil exposure adjacent to the roads. And, that does open another whole can of worms. When you go to test soil, you also do have to have a control area that you're comparing it to.
Right.
And then if you want to look at animals, you have to have, again, a base control group and then compare tissue samples from animals, hair samples. That was the information that on Dr. Askew's website that he got back from this vet. Sure, they could collect samples along the roads containing slag, but without a control group, that doesn't tell you a whole lot.
Yeah, and I guess I'm wondering if they could determine from whatever they find, what they assess as the risk of soil contamination.
Sure.
That risk
Yeah.
is,
They could do that.
I mean, if they say, yeah, it's pretty likely, then, we can proceed those steps. If they say, probably not so likely, we take that under advisement as well.
Okay. We can try to address that, but that may be out there as a,
And they may say, well, that's beyond our purview. And if they do, well, we'll cry a little bit, I guess.
I think it starts with seeing what the real world concentrations are from, and then the different ingestion methods, the likely migration paths, whether it be airborne, leaching, and that's what we're having to address.
I think you've got a good point here that making it clear to them that anything you don't tell us about, we will have no conclusion, but that you're not worried about it.
Well, I think that, that would put the burden back on them as
Yeah.
the pharmacological and toxicological experts that, hey, we want you to look at this with a broad lens. You're the expert in this, and that's what we've been asking all along. You tell us, from your professional standpoint, what should our concerns be based on what you find?
I don't wanna hear 3 years down the road that they, oh yeah, we didn't tell you about
Right.
this.
Right. So, okay, well, I will make those additions. Mr. Smits did want a response back by today. So if that's something you acknowledge, that I'll add in the couple things that you mentioned, we probably need to get it off to him.
Joe, you got something else?
One thing I would like, and I think it's for you want me to stand up there? I don't have to.
Sure.
You can hear me. No, you can hear me. The group would like to have subsamples of their samples, just so we could spot check them. Because the DNR has some liability in this issue, because they haven't maybe informed the county as well over the years of everything that's went on. And just to keep them on an up and up, we'd like to have a subsample of every sample they take, just so we could spot check them. Just makes sense.
I mean, I don't know.
It's up to them, in my opinion.
I mean, is that a
it's-
fair request? Just to,
I don't see a problem with it, but I think that I don't know that we can tell them to do that.
can you ask them for that?
We can ask them to.
But you guys could go sample anything you want.
No, it wouldn't be the same. We want a different sample. We
Yeah, I
want-
mean, can you ask them to maintain, a subsample in reserve? Something like that?
There's indications that request has already been made, and I believe the DNR and IDPH is looking at entertaining that request.
It's been made, but I didn't know if it would come from you, that you would agree to it.
We can throw it
We
in
could
there.
say,
Yeah.
I mean, there's no harm in asking, and I certainly think that having a background would be a good thing.
Well, that would be a follow-up with,
Yeah.
Nancy, help me with her last name, Davidson, Amy Davidson, was the lead at the DNR, was doing the sampling. this letter mainly addressed what was gonna be tested and what areas we wanted in.
Sure.
But, yeah, we
We
can,
can reach out to the DNR.
sure,
and ask them
yeah,
to collect a double batch or something like that.
yeah, find out what their plan is and give them some feedback from you.
And the other one is, I'm not so sure, just a public citizen, excuse me, shouldn't have the right to observe them collecting the samples. Not bother them, just observe them to make it, they say they're doing this quality assurance program with sampling. It's somebody just to watch to make sure they're doing it that way. I thought
Well,
they're-
one of the, yeah, I think the question I have, and we don't know this, but I would highly doubt that the DNR is gonna do it. My guess is they're gonna contract
Exactly.
a lab to do it. Wouldn't you guess? Do the sampling, I don't know.
We've not received any indication to that, that suggests that at this point, but again, we've not been involved in this. This was turned over to them when they suggested this, and that's what the county was pretty satisfied with, that this is a state level agency doing testing, sampling and testing independent of any.
Maybe that's just a question we could have would be is, you know,
That's easy to find out.
what the observation plan is
Yeah.
on their sampling.
We can find that out. I'm just saying we haven't been given any indication one way or the other than they were going to take the lead on sampling and IDPH do the testing and assessment. Or do the assessment. They would have labs do the actual analysis, then the health risk assessment would come from the toxicologists.
Is it possible we can have a copy of this letter also?
Oh, yeah, it's gonna be an open document.
Yeah.
What?
It'll be an open document.
Yeah, it should be in, probably posted on our website now, is it?
No.
It's not part of the agenda. It'll be part of the, yeah.
Yeah, once I make the changes, it'll be, Nancy will probably put it on letterhead. And,
Yep.
I'm assuming that was right, because this is a request from you folks. I just tried to gather the data that I thought you wanted.
I think main concerns that are on this letter are magnesium, cadmium, arsenic, and mercury.
Yeah, those
Which I
elements.
think is what you guys are most concerned about.
I'm just gonna offer one more thing in fairness, you know, I may sound cynical, but we filed a Freedom of Information Act with the Iowa Department of Public Health. And they were gonna charge $1,400 for the release of that report to us, which is kind of extortion. My daughter works at the IRS in Atlanta and collects stuff from banks for accounts all the time. She says, I've never had to pay over $350 for boxes of stuff for Freedom of Information. She thought that was a little exorbitant, and we did too. And so that tells me either they don't wanna deal with this or they're hiding something. So I think we need to be open-minded and just that's kinda why some of the questions I'm asking. Are they hiding something that the county needs to know?
Well, I think that everything regarding our sampling,
Yeah, I
will be
know
on
you.
the up and up, so.
I know, I agree with that, I have no problem with that, but I'm just questioning what's going on above us.
Yeah, no idea,
Yeah,
no idea whether that's kosher or not. Anybody else? So, Eric, you got your marching orders?
Yes, sir.
Appreciate your work on this, thank you very much, sir.
and thank you for letting us input.
Item number 8 is discussion and possible action to approve a renewal application for a Class C liquor license, Sunday sales and outdoor service permit for the West Liberty Golf and Country Club at 1248 Country Heights Lane in West Liberty. Scott has moved, Jeff has seconded, all those in favor?
Aye.
Item 9, discussion and action to approve the minutes of the March 11th regular meeting.
Second.
Scott has moved, Jeff has seconded, all those in favor? Item 10, correspondence, Santos.
Nothing.
Jeff.
Nothing.
I had nothing. Scott had nothing. Doug.
I had a call from Elsie Paul on North Isaac Avenue. She's complaining about flooding with her small car. And I told her there really wasn't anything that could be done. Until we had some drier weather and some off a little bit. And Meredith called me about potholes on the road, Bayfield. And it's basically the same answer. There's really nothing we can do. They fell down on the blade. Steve Root on Kincaid, called me to tell me that somebody came out there and picked through the frost and through the road and put down a tile. It converted the spring across the road, and he was very pleased and wanted to know who that man was that was out there picking, because he really worked hard and got the job done. Was there 4 people? I think when he came, there was only one there, so, I don't know. He said one older guy was out there with a pick just this morning. He was very pleased.
Always nice to hear people
Very
happy.
pleased.
Doug, continue.
Thursday, the 14th, we got a 5 o'clock meeting for Muscatine.
Scott?
I had nothing.
I didn't have any.
I had the Muscatine meeting with, and they did fail to mention, sorry Leslie, on the correspondence, I'll just say Mary, I can't remember Rick's last name. This has been a recurring issue with some, water into a home in Fairport area. And then we've talked about, this is on private property, and Mary's a limited income senior, and we feel bad for her, but we don't know that there's a lot we can do. The railroad continues to clean up the drainage ditch that runs across the track and into her house, and I think there's an old abandoned culvert that's been covered over in the area, and it's just a trouble spot, but.
I believe it was Mary McDonald, wasn't it?
Yeah, that sounds right,
Yeah, when the railroad cleans theirs, it dumps the water on it, right?
yeah. Yeah, floods her house, and it's doing it again, so. If anybody's got a skid steer or something there and want to feed the paper, they run out there and plow a channel of the road for her through her driveway or something. And she'd be able to get her cars in, I don't know, it's a tough situation. It's a tough situation. That's all I have.
Santos?
Nothing.
Thank you. Any information from county employees? Sir, Brian? Anybody treading water yet?
Not yet. All right, I'm gonna give you a kind of an outlook of what is going on right now. In front of you, I gave you the latest copies of the Mississippi River at Muscatine. It's at 19.34, and it kind of hold into that moderate flood stage. Cedar River right now is at 15.16. It's gonna go up a little bit. Last week, the state has activated its Emergency Operations Center. On Friday, I did receive a request from the city of Muscatine for sandbags, plastic, and pumps. Over the weekend, they did receive sandbags and plastic. Right now, the status is western Iowa is taking a pretty good hit. Missouri, they actually breached the dam, so they have some flooding in there. So the pumps are not at this time in a critical infrastructure situation. They're planning to reserve the pumps for other locations. I also had a request from a citizen regarding HESCO barriers. He had a private business in Muscatine. My office doesn't provide the sandbags, the HESCOs, but I wasn't able to get him in contact with a vendor who has HESCOs, so he's satisfied on that. Now, the weather outlook coming up. There's going to be warming in the upper basin. Minnesota, Wisconsin still has 10 to 20 inches of snow with a water equivalency of 3 inches. They're also forecasting above normal rainfall. So, what does that mean? We're having a pretty good chance we're going to have another flood, and this is probably going to run through April. It's just going to fluctuate. I attended a webinar with the National Weather Service Friday, and I asked the hydrologist what the chances were for us hitting the 93 flood, and it's still 50-50. So, the weeks to come, I'm going to continue to monitor. I'm going to continue working with the other departments, seeing what's going on. I will suggest that you consider in the future probably having a county declaration. That way, It enables us to get more things for critical infrastructure, opens up FEMA assistance, and has the ability for individual assistance.
How do we go about doing that, Brian?
Nancy, would
Typically, the emergency manager asks to put it on the agenda and brings it to you guys.
It's just a disaster declaration, basically. Is there a threshold of damage or amount of?
Yes,
there is.
okay.
Well, if I remember right, it was a few $100,000.
Yeah, it's under 200,000, but the public.
Public damage of around, so we've got a couple of roads right now that are having some distress, I could call that, right, Keith?
Yes.
So do we anticipate reaching that level?
Hard to say.
There's a lot of factors involved, but I continue to see this running through April. And watched on the TV this morning, and they think it could even go into Memorial Day. So it's just one of those unknowns. There's a lot of snow up north of us. And Saturday, they're predicting that it's going to be 67 degrees here. We might have a rapid snow melt up north, which all the tributaries are going to flow in. So we've got the Wapsie, Coconut River, all these other streams. We've got the Rock River. So we're probably going to have a situation where we're going to get near to, or be in major flood levels.
I was up with my brothers in Wisconsin this weekend, and trying to get firewood out of the backyard, I was waist deep in snow, and they were already flooded. So it's coming. It's going to be wet. Foreseeing a situation where maybe Tuesday morning it hits the fan. Is there? Assume not waiting 6 days to declare an emergency is a good thing. Is there anything we can do, like in terms of a standby emergency declaration, or authorizing someone to make that call?
I don't know. We can certainly find that out for you.
Because I would hate to have to wait for a meeting or try and get everybody together for a special
Well,
meeting.
you can, what's it, 48 hours to do a special meeting, Nancy?
24.
24. So you do it in 24 hours.
Sure.
And that's based on the information that's coming into me, provided, seeing what we get, what other requests I get from communities, and seeing what's needed.
And the key about these is that that'll give Brian a lot of latitude on reaching out to federal and other resources positioned around the Midwest to get it in to help.
Correct. Anything else?
Anything else?
Thank you.
Thanks, Brian.
Anyone else? Yes, sir. Keith.
Two things. Brian pointed out that we do have another senator in this county. Senator Walls, District 37, has just Wilton. He has all of Cedar and he has Coralville, but he does take in. Look at the map, there's a little notch of Wilton. So I wanted to point that out. I can send you his contact information. Then I just looked up, we're at 162, it's actually 161 and change, 162,000. There's a statewide, it's a per capita. There's a statewide $1.50 per capita that it has to reach for statewide, and then the countywide numbers come in and they're like 358. And in the past, that's just, they've asked us for how much public damage, and then it's just automatic, because as far as the governor starts declaring what counties are disasters. So that's kind of my nutshell of how.
Oh, I'm sorry, what was that threshold again?
About 50 states, 358.
You want the precise?
3,000? No.
358 per capita.
Well, 162,000 for Muscatine County. It's actually 161 and some odd number.
Gotcha, thank you.
Yep. That's effective October 18th of 2018.
All right. Anyone else? Item 13 is items with the administration office. A is action authorizing the chair to execute the following. One, an updated master agreement between Muscatine County and Horizon Architecture for service order contracts for county facilities and related projects.
These are just formalizing the actions that you took last week to approve these agreements.
You want to do these individually or all together? Anyone? 2 is a service order between Muscatine County and Horizon Architecture for various county projects. 3 is an agreement to service construction for Horizon to serve as construction manager. Do I have a motion?
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Is that for all of them?
Yes.
Okay, Jeff has moved to approve items 13A, 1, 2, and 3. Santos has seconded. Those in favor?
Aye.
Anything else, Nancy?
I don't have anything. Actually, I do have one other thing, just to let you know. I've been notified that one of the representatives on the Civil Service Commission is no longer lives in the state. The way the Civil Service Commission works, there's 3 appointees. The board appoints 2 of them. The county attorney appoints one. The vacancy that we now have is one that the board appoints. In order to be gender balanced, we would need to find a male to do this because the other 2 serving right now are both females. The code also requires that only 2 can be from the same political party. And we have 1 Republican, 1 Democrat now, so that's not an issue, but just be aware that for this particular appointment, you have to be declared to a party. So I will be advertising for that, and if you know of anybody that might be a good fit, let me know, and I'll reach out to them.
For the legions of our TV fans out there, can you talk a little bit about what the Civil Service Commission does?
Well, typically, they do the test, they're responsible to do the testing, to create the list of people that we can hire as deputies. If they're gonna do a promotional test to look at promoting within the sheriff's office, they handle those. If there is a disciplinary action, and they wanna file a appeal to that or grievance to that, they do that through the Civil Service Commission.
Any particular qualifications required?
No, I don't believe so.
All right, if there's anybody out there, please let us know if you're interested. And we will keep an eye on it as well. Thank you, Nancy. Anybody have anything else? Let's adjourn.